Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Surf Reviews. Today we're watching Warwolves.
Released in 2009, it's another TV movie from the Sci-Fi Channel.
As a change of pace, this film starts with a message about the film from the director.
Not really, but I'm sure the film will explain why he killed himself.
What? There's no time for that, Matt. We need to watch some soldiers playing American football.
So we have some basic banter to establish that they're all friends.
You know, one time in high school you had this ham and cheese sandwich, and I had this banana sugar card thing, and I stole your sandwich.
You stole my sandwich? I'll be leaving you to die.
We finally see them in a war zone, injured and pinned down.
Which might be tense if we cared about these people.
They get attacked by what appears to be zombies.
How will our heroes get out of this one? Who knows? It's 6 months later.
We see Jake, who now works at a supermarket, struggling to deal with normal life.
We also see him struggling with how to drink a bottle of vodka.
Until this old woman, Gail, shows up to talk at him.
Come on, can a guy not get drunk on a boat without being hassled by a crazy old woman?
She rambles on for a bit, but it has no bearing on the story.
Jake is pretending his name is Lawrence, and it turns out he's actually a character I can sympathise with.
Hi. My real name's Jake Gabriel. It's been about 3 hours since my last drink. Because if I stop drinking, I may kill every single one of you.
We then get to see two old guys get a room at an out-of-town motel.
Back with Jake, and he's surrounded by boring characters.
Until this old guy decides it's a good idea to wind up the war veteran.
Stripes and come back an alcoholic and hibernate in a crazy woman's house.
But don't worry, there's a kooky old lady to stop any tension developing.
Oops.
Jake gets phoned by Andrew, one of the other soldiers, who needs his help.
But before we can find out what's going on with that, we get introduced to this charming gentleman.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's not even funny. That's not even damn funny. That's 100% hilarious. You think that kid gives a rat's ass about me straightening you out?
He manages to hit a naked woman in the road and goes to the bar to get guys to help.
A couple of attractive women walk into the bar, and so of course they're immediately asked to leave.
And of course no one seems particularly surprised when the naked dead woman turns up.
As the guys are being assholes for no particular reason, they get slaughtered.
It's weird how the sound effects try to make them seem like wolves, yet their actions make them seem like vampires.
Having finished their slaughter, they leave the pregnant woman with all the mutilated corpses. Good luck explaining that one.
In the city we see Andrew getting chased by one of the other soldiers, Clay, before some old guy starts shooting at him.
The useless old gits manage to miss from close range and Clay escapes.
Andrew explains what we've already figured out, that these events are related to those of 6 months ago.
Everything changed on that day.
Where is Captain Gabriel?
He'll be here soon. He said he wouldn't let me die.
I lied.
Jake shows up looking for Andrew, but instead finds a rifle butt to the face.
The old guys explain that they've been investigating Jake's unit since the guy at the start of the movie killed himself. Told you that'd explain it.
Yeah, I guess I did close that plot hole. Doesn't really explain why they've only got a couple of old guys investigating it though. Unless investigate a bizarre suicide is something to do before you die.
Here, here, mate.
After talking with Jake, we see the old guy, Tony, struggling to talk with his daughter.
I really wanted to tell you that I was thinking about you and Carol and our family and how...
It's a sad and lonely moment. So quick, cut to a random guy who's killed someone totally unrelated to the plot.
Tony decides to let Jake go, believing that he's the key to figuring out what happened to his unit 6 months ago.
So then the random guy shows up and holds Jake at gunpoint, forcing him to listen to his tedious monologue.
I once had a girlfriend. Yeah. She was a bona fide Letterman's jacket wearing, steady squeeze. I mean, she had a body that just wouldn't quit.
Is it a common thing to bore someone to death before you kill them?
Thankfully, he gets shot in the back by Justine, so random and pointless.
This does at least give us a reasonable action scene, even if the old men are much better at using their guns as clubs.
The girls go to all that trouble to capture Jake only to abandon him in an alleyway, which I'm sure was worth almost getting shot for.
So Jake and Clay start fighting in what is a pretty competent scene.
Clay trying to inspire Jake to unleash the beast or something.
Jake manages to run off and the women show up.
You know, Jake used to ask for directions. And he left the toilet seat down.
Well, why don't you marry him then?
After a brief scene of the old guys buying some more weapons that they can club people in the face with, we go back to Jake.
Turns out he did such a good job of running away, he wakes up in a barn with the 3 women.
The leader woman, Erica, tells the others to leave so she can reminisce with Jake.
Just like that beach.
Yeah, you know the one. That beach made out of hay.
We then get this bizarre scene of them flirting by pretending to be animals.
Until Jake realises he can't get an erection.
This hurts.
Jake decides he won't join them and runs off.
And now the moment you've all been waiting for. 2 old guys fighting.
You son of...
After their little spat, they settle their differences and carry on the hunt.
We then see that Jake has decided to start the day with a healthy breakfast.
Gale shows up to take him away and tell him a story that just so happens to be about wolves.
And they're fighting this battle to the end. And the little boy thought about it for a minute and he said, but Grandpa, which wolf wins? And the old Cherokee said, well, it's the one you feed.
That's so profound, Gale. I'm gonna have to go and rethink my life.
After the film,
Damn it!
as we approach the end of the movie, the Alcoholics Anonymous group is interrupted by the 2 old men fighting.
They lock themselves in the church, but one guy doesn't seem at all bothered by the men with guns.
You guys are always screwing around, trying to think up some perfect fighting machine. But, like usual, all you've done is corrupt the human species. Created some military monster. It's all your fault.
Elsewhere, Jake spots Erica, who is starting to transform.
They charge at each other, and like a lot of the action in this film, it's off-screen.
The old men are getting ready to go out before they get shot.
It's getting harder to aim with these things.
Harder to aim. You didn't miss.
The women show up, but with distorted voices and silly noses, it's very hard to take them seriously.
How do you do it? How do you have a sense of humor through all this pain?
I find having someone to suffer with makes it a lot more amusing.
In an odd bit, the people of the church decide they can succeed with sticks where 2 old men failed with guns.
Before they can be butchered, however, Jake shows up and sings at them.
There was a farmer who had a dog, and Bingo was his name-o.
Jake and Clay fight as it turns out that Clay hates singing.
Inside the church, one of the women is shot by the old man, while the other woman has presumably gone off to fight Erica.
So Jake transforms and manages to beat Clay once again, this time killing him.
Jake meets Erica, who I imagine killed the other woman in more off-screen action, while one of the old guys dies.
And so the film ends with the old guy leaving and the implication that Jake and Erica had turned into wolves to live happily ever after. And in conclusion, it's not all bad. As a movie from sci-fi, I've seen a lot worse, and in this case, there's a lot of good things to talk about. For one, the fight scenes are pretty good. You don't get to see them all, but some of them actually have a lot of potential in their scenes. Some good martial arts are done, and some good wire work done. The old guys are okay and fun as well. They're interesting characters to a certain degree, and they're at least entertaining to watch. And even though it's a low-budget movie, it's actually well done up until the end. Before any special effects start to come into play, it looks pretty realistic and is done relatively well. It does strike me that there was a lot more potential here than was used.
Oh yes, and he was nice.
Well, the first and most obvious complaint with this film is the makeup effects and the stupid voice effects that they had when they finally turn into wolves. Until that point, it was going along quite well, but they've just got the silly black noses. It's really distracting. and more just makes you laugh at the film rather than feel that they're any kind of threat. Beyond that, the main flaw is seemingly either a lack of time spent or a lack of focus in the film. You go about from scene to scene to scene to scene to this character, not really spending any time with any of them or getting to know them or understand them. I had to watch it a couple of times before I could even work out who the main characters were and what their names were, because a lot of the people kind of looked the same. And probably the best example of this is that one guy who shows up and 5 minutes later he's dead.
I love that story.